Jews have no nationality and no nation state because unlike all the other umos who exist because of a common land, language, or culture, the Jewish people exist only because they accepted a common religion, because they accepted the Torah from Hashem on Har Sinai, in the desert, where we possessed no land, no territory, and no state.
Ответ такой. Я сразу стараюсь сказать коротко и ясно. Если женщина приняла гиюр, мы говорим о женщине, поскольку мы говорим о детях, дети рождаются у женщин. Если женщина прошла гиюр, приняла гиюр и так далее, правильно, в раввинском суде, в ортодоксальном раввинском признанном суде, только там, другого гиюра не бывает. И потом у нее родились дети, то они евреи. Потому что нужно понимать, что такое гиюр, присоединение дополнительной души. У нее уже она есть, дети родились, тоже имеют дополнительную душу. Если она приняла гиюр, у нее были дети, неважно какого возраста, они автоматически уже не становятся евреями. Эта душа к ним не пришла, дополнительная еврейская душа. Но они у нее живут, воспитываются, поскольку мы имеем, безусловно, в виду гиюр настоящий, а не про кого-нибудь сказано липовый гиюр. Значит, дома у нее соблюдаются еврейские традиции, дети растут как евреи, и тогда в 13 лет, можно и позже, в 15 лет, но 13 лет ребенок или в 15, или в 17 должен предстать перед раввинским судом, и на вопрос его спросят: все хорошо, ты вырос в еврейской семье, твоя мама гиюр, это приняла гиюр, все, она еврейка. Но чтобы ты был евреем, ты должен получить дополнительную душу. Значит, его должны спросить, он согласен с этим или нет. Если он скажет да, значит он еврей. Если он скажет нет, значит он не еврей. Вот так просто. Есть детали, есть нюансы. Вы спрашиваете, какие процедуры, это все в раввинском суде. Я не вхожу в эти детали, их почти нет, но все-таки надо в раввинском суде это поговорить, потому что понятно, что есть некое различие ребенку во время гиюра мамы. Могло быть 12 лет, это одно, могло быть 8, это другое, могло быть 2 года, это третье. Есть нюансы, надо поговорить в раввинском суде, но в целом картина вам ясна. Всего доброго, до свидания.
People often ask me why it is that you have to be born a Jew and you can't convert to Judaism. Well, the truth is that you can convert to Judaism. There are 2 ways to be Jewish. One is to be born of a Jewish mother, in which case you have the halachic or the Jewish law status of being a Jew. Or alternatively, you can convert to Judaism. The conversion process in Orthodox circles takes about a year. You would approach a Beit Din, a Jewish court, and tell them of your intention to become Jewish, and you would be guided for a period of a year to read books which will give you some idea of what your basic responsibilities are as a Jew, and you would begin to live within a Jewish community, to keep the holidays, to keep Shabbat, and to see what the lifestyle is like, and to begin to study more and more, and to firm up your commitment to Judaism. If at the end of that year-long process, or even longer in many cases, you were to decide that you really do want to go through the process, you would approach the rabbinic court again, and the rabbinic court would approve your conversion. In the case of men, you might be circumcised if you're not circumcised already, and whether you're a man or a woman, you would immerse in a ritual bath, and you would come up, and you would be Jewish. Now, many people have asked me, well, why is it that Judaism doesn't seem to invite people to convert? The answer to that is relatively simple. You don't need it. The fact is that a person who observes the 7 commandments that were given to Noah and who is a monotheist and who worships God in whatever way they worship God, that person has salvation. So you don't need to be Jewish in order to be saved. You don't need to be Jewish in order to have a perfectly good relationship with God. So the person doesn't need it. So traditionally, we even push people away 3 times rather than ask them to make that commitment. Now, if the person has a deep prompting inside that says, I need to be Jewish, I have a Jewish soul and I need this, then in that case the person is certainly encouraged to convert at that point. Another question people ask is, how is it possible that you have Jews who have no interest in Judaism as a religion, who may not even believe in God, who are nevertheless fully Jewish, or considered fully Jewish, and then you have converts who have to commit themselves to this rigorous lifestyle of commandments? The best I can answer that is to kind of think of Jewishness as a kind of national identity. We're called Am Yisrael, the Jewish people, related to the Arabic word ummah, right? People. So as part of this membership, you get citizenship. Well, one way to get citizenship is the way I got citizenship to the United States. I was born in the United States, and I received my citizenship not because I knew anything about America, just because I was born here. I don't need to know anything about America. I don't need to know the Constitution. I don't need to know American history. I just have to be born here. On the other hand, if I wanted to become a naturalized citizen, I'd have to study the Constitution, I'd have to study history, and I'd have to commit myself to the ideals of the United States. The same way with convert. In order to become a citizen of the Jewish people, well, then you have to commit yourself to the ideals of the Jewish people, and you have to be willing to observe what Jewish people are supposed to observe. So the truth is, there are lots of converts. In our community here in Irvine, California, about 50% of the observant people are converts, and they come from every background you can imagine. We've had black converts, we've had white converts, we've had Asian converts, we have Jews from every possible background, and there is no room in Judaism to think of us as a race in any way, shape, or form. Are there people who are racist? Sure, there are. There always are. But that's certainly not built into Judaism at all. Judaism is a religion. Judaism is a people. And that people comes in all colors and all backgrounds and all races. So I hope that clears it up a little bit, and I look forward to sharing more information with you in the future.
We want to become Jewish. Shalom Aleichem, Malachi Hasharet, Malachi Elyon.
I was born in Kenya and I grew up in a small town known as Elbagon. We started our conversion last year, and so it's 1 whole year, and so we are halfway now. Part of the conversion is they must eat kosher and they must have a kosher kitchen. It wasn't easy, like for the kids to remember which dish is for the meat, which one is for the milk. So the kids came up with the labeling, and so it has been very amazing for them putting the stickers so that we could remind each other.
We don't find it so difficult now, we're really used to it.
It's really easy because we've had them for a long time.
I was born in the former Republic of Sudan, so I grew up among the Dinka people of the Sudan. I never heard of the Jewish people before. The war I know very well. I got very graphic pictures of what happened. So these are lost boys, all of these ones here. So I'm here. The lost boys of Sudan, what happens was after the war broke out, the Sudan Liberation Army asked the parents to give up their sons to be taught in bush school. But that was not the truth because they wanted to go and train us up as soldiers. I did escape to the Republic of Kenya. I was still in Christianity. Then I came across this group of people that were Kenyans, but they were introduced to Judaism from the 1940s by a Jew from Jerusalem. This guy, because I was already shattered, I'm hunting for the truth, and he saw in my eyes that I really wanted to know God. From that point onward, that was the beginning of everything. So basically my kids go to a Jewish school, so I'm just going to pick them up, and on the way, I'm going to buy something nice for them for the Shabbat.
We are converting and we are learning more about the Jewish law. So it's very exciting for us, but to our family and to our friends, they find it very strange. They always say, so how do you fit in? To the people who are outside, it's a strange thing to see a colored person joining, people who are Caucasian.
Physically, I look like where I was born, but inside of me, I'm totally a very different person. So if I go among Jews, I am actually fit in because that's where I belong. But if I go among my people where I was born, I don't fit in because my soul is different.
Maybe we start with you first?
Me.
So before we eat, what do we need to do?
Bracha.
Yeah, we need to say a bracha. Amen.
So I met a lot of new friends this year and last year since we came to the community. And the community is very welcoming and very friendly.
It's all a transition. I'm not the only one making the change. Through the human beings that come in contact with me, and plus, seeking for the truth, the transition is happening.
Everyone is looking forward to finishing the conversion, and there is a party at the synagogue, and everyone welcome us, and we become part of the community fully.
Shalom.
Андрей из Берлина задает такой вопрос. Он читал книжку «Вавилонская башня. Последний ярус». Это ваша книга с Эрвином Ласло. И там есть такой раздел «Роль народа Израиля». И он так пишет, что вы там говорили, что евреи – это вообще не народ, а не национальность, а именно те, кто стремится познать Творца, узнать эту истину, вот он и называется.
Да.
Так ли это?
Ну, если он, допустим, немец, то, начав заниматься каббалой, он тоже будет называться Исраэль. От слов прямо к Творцу. Ешар Эль. Ешар – это прямо, Эль – Творец. Прямо к Творцу.
Каббала выше национальности?
Конечно. То есть это название и вообще все атрибуты этого народа, они не самого народа. Они все исходят из каббалы. Ведь евреи – это не национальность. Это из всего Вавилона Авраам призвал к себе учеников, и они объединились вокруг него по принципу «возлюби ближнего». Для того, чтобы постичь высший мир, они должны это сделать были. Вот те люди, которые начали заниматься «возлюби ближнего как себя» и таким образом постигать высший мир, высшую систему управления, они от слова «объединение» назвали себя евреями. Слово «иуди» от слова «ихуд». А еврей – это от слова «переход», «эвер», «переходить» из ощущения нашего мира в ощущение высшего мира. Так что это не народ, это идеологическая группа такая. Поэтому сегодня, да хоть все иракцы сегодня, наверное, могут быть в каком-то смысле бывшими евреями, которые растерялись.
Или остались.
По дороге, или остались, да. Это не имеет значения. В этом отношении тут совершенно каббала не относит к национальностям совершенно никого.
Being a Jew means one thing. Judaism is not a culture, chicken soup. I met Gilad the first time in a kosher deli on Broadway, and he sits down and he says, first thing he says is, opens the menu and he says, what's the most Jewish food? So first thing I said, there's no such thing as Jewish food because Judaism is not an ethnicity, but if you want to know which food Jews would probably eat most, order the sushi. Being Jewish is not an ethnicity. Being Jewish is not a culture. Being Jewish is not even a blood family. You can convert to Judaism. You can't convert to a blood family. You cannot convert to a race. Judaism is a religion. That's all it is. In particular, specifically, in the year 2448 after creation, God came to Moses and the Jews on Mount Sinai and gave them the Torah. No, I was wrong. That's not true. God came to a group of random people who were not a nation at all. They were not Jews, and gave them the Torah. Because they got the Torah, they also received with it a mission to fulfill God's 613 commandments in this world. The reason they got it was because God was and still is willing to give it to anybody who's willing to accept it. Those people who were there were willing to accept this job. When I give you a job, I'm also presumably giving you the tools to get the job done. God then created the Jewish people. It's not that there was a Jewish nation called the Jewish people who created the religion. No. The religion created the Jewish people. The definition of a Jewish person is somebody who is transformed by receiving the Torah. You could receive the Torah on Mount Sinai like the Jewish nation did then. Or, our tradition tells us that the souls of many people who are not yet born will also receive the Torah on Mount Sinai. God ensured that those people will be born. When they're born, they will have Jewish mothers. They also receive the Torah on Mount Sinai. Or, if you weren't there, neither in soul or in body, you can accept the Torah now, and you're one of the Jewish people as well. The Torah makes the Jewish people. Had God not given us the Torah, it's not that we would be the Jewish people without a Torah. Rather, we would not be the Jewish people. Had God given the Torah to another group of people, had someone else accepted it, they would be the Jewish people. Now, you don't have to accept this story that I said, but that's what religions are about. You don't have to accept my religion. But without the Torah, without Judaism, there are no Jewish people. If a person doesn't believe in this narrative that I just said, he doesn't believe that God gave the Torah to the Jews on Mount Sinai, and you don't believe that people were transformed by the Torah, then you don't believe in the Jewish people. There is no other definition of Jewish people except for that, those that accepted the Torah.
When they go to the mikveh, that's like returning to the womb. And that's where they get the godly soul. And that's why there are people who call converts Jews by choice. You heard that expression? If you're a Jew by choice, you're not a real Jew. Because a real Jew doesn't have a choice. So you can't be a Jew by choice. A true convert really does not have a choice. And if you ask them, they will tell you. Ask them, why did you convert? Eventually, after they get past the rationalizations, eventually they will say, I just had to. Had to. Not by choice. That makes them a real Jew. So what happens is that a Jewish soul that has always been Jewish enters into their body, and that soul can legitimately say on Pesach, thank you for taking my ancestors out of Egypt. Even if the convert was an Egyptian. And yet, the convert can say, you took my ancestors out of Egypt. Oh, no, your ancestors were Egyptians. The ancestors of the soul that the convert receives were taken out of Egypt. It is a Jewish soul with a Jewish heritage, with a Jewish background, with Jewish memory. It's a complete Jew. And that's why the convert is as Jewish as any Jew, not a Jew by choice. Like there was this one convert who called me after the conversion, and she had been preparing for the conversion for about 6 years. And she calls me after a couple of weeks after the conversion, and she says, I don't know what happened. Until the conversion, I loved everything about Judaism. I loved every mitzvah. I practiced everything. I was so excited about it. And now all of a sudden, like, I'm not so excited. What happened to me? I said, you became a Jew. Welcome to the club. Until now, you were an excited outsider. Now you're an insider. You're like every other Jew.
Person? No. The only thing it takes to be a Jewish person is to have a Jewish mother. If your mother's Jewish, you are Jewish. If your mother's not Jewish, you are not Jewish. Now there's one exception to this rule. A proper convert, a kosher convert. If you have an Orthodox conversion, then you become a Jewish person. But we not only do not encourage this, we discourage it. You should follow the path that you were born to. You're born not Jewish, follow the 7 commandments of Noah. You'll have a good life in this world and a share in the world to come. But if you insist on becoming a Jew, and even though we tell you not to do it, you insist in come, then we'll help you to become a Jew. But you have a problem here. If you become a member of a religion and then later change your mind and go to another religion, you're no longer a member of that first religion. But if you become a Jew through a kosher conversion and become a Jewish person, and then you decide to follow some other religion, you're still a Jew. And the problem with that is, God's not going to be happy with a Jew who follows that other religion. So if you're not Jewish, you should follow the 7 commandments of Noah and have a good life. If your mother is Jewish, you're a Jew. Hi, where are you from?
Hi, Oklahoma.
What are you doing in Israel?
I'm on a Jewish heritage tour.
But are you Jewish?
No.
So what are you doing on a Jewish heritage tour?
I'm converting.
How are you converting?
Through Orthodox.
Through the Orthodox?
Chabad, yeah.
Through Chabad?
Yeah.
Great. Any Orthodox conversion is kosher and proper, and you become a Jewish person.
Why is Orthodox conversion the best? Or
it's not the best, it's the only. Because when someone converts to become a Jew, they become a Jewish person, not a Jewish believer.
Right.
Now, if somebody converts according to Reform and becomes a Jew according to the Reform movement, only the Reform movement will say they're Jewish.
Okay.
If somebody converts according to the conservative movement, both the conservative and the Reform Jews will say he's Jewish. But if someone converts according to the Orthodox tradition, then all the Jews in the world will say that person's Jewish. Now, since you want to become a Jewish person, you're converting Orthodox, you want to be accepted by all the Jews in the world.
Yeah.
Therefore, you don't want to be a Reform convert or a conservative convert. You want to be a Jew. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, when you become a Jew, you don't become a Jewish believer. You become a Jewish person.
Okay.
So you be sure this is what you want to do, or don't do it. Because later you can't change your mind. You can never stop being a Jew once you're a Jew, no matter what you believe. All right?
Yes.
Okay. Make sure it's what you want to do.
It is.
Okay. Have a good life, young man.
Thank you.
Experts in Judaism about Judaism, in particular, the incompatibility between Judaism and Zionism. Many Jews believe, wrongly, that Zionism is either part of Judaism or is compatible with Judaism or is even the main part of Judaism. All of those are actually false. Zionism was created to negate Judaism. Zionism was created to replace Judaism. The differences between Zionism and Judaism are vast. They're vast and profound. The propaganda that the Zionists have churned out for the past 100 years have confused and conflated Zionism and Judaism such that when the average person walks down the street, he thinks that the state of Israel is the Jewish state, he thinks that Zionism is Judaism, and he doesn't know the difference. This group of Jews here are students of the students of the late Satmar Rabbi Reb Yoel Teitelbaum, who was the greatest disseminator of the clarity regarding the difference between Judaism and Zionism. He understood it, he wrote a very big book about it, and he, more than anybody else, was able to communicate that to his students. It is important to review his teachings so that we can understand what our religion is about. According to Zionism, Jewish identity is political, it's national. According to Judaism, Jewish identity is completely religious. A Jew, by definition, is somebody who accepted the Jewish religion or who is defined as a Jew by the Jewish religion. According to Zionism, Jewish identity is political, and it's defined the same way we define the identity of any nationals, like a Frenchman or a Canadian. According to Judaism, Jewish identity is centered only around God and God's teachings, nothing else. According to Zionism, Jewish identity is centered around a nation state, which they randomly decided is the nation state that was created in 1948 that they call Israel. According to Judaism, a Jew is supposed to have certain character traits. He's supposed to eschew violence. He's supposed to oppose violence. He's supposed to be disgusted by violence. Even in the olden days when Jews had to defend themselves, that was considered nothing to glorify. Jews don't have military heroes. We have religious heroes. Our heroes are the righteous. Our heroes are the scholars. The heroes of the Zionists are the war heroes. The Jews have no national sites where wars took place, such as the Alamo in America. Jews are not militant. Jews are religious. Jews are, the way the Bible describes us, a nation of priests and a holy people. If people want to retain their Jewish identity, if they want to resist the propaganda that is churned out by Zionists and Zionism every day, then it is vital that they take proactive steps to defend themselves against it. Look, the Zionist propaganda is everywhere. We live in a world where every day this message that has been deliberately promulgated by the Zionists is fed to us. Israel, Jewish state, Israel, Jews, Israel, the Jewish people, Israel protects the Jews. It's all bogus. Well, I'm going to go through the different ideas of Jewish identity, and I'm going to show why none of them really work. And then I'm going to explain what Jewish identity really is. Is Jewishness an ethnicity? Well, in order for a definition to define something, by definition, it has to describe every member of the population. You can have an exception to a rule, but you can't have an exception to a definition. If I say the definition of a chair is something with 4 legs and a back, then all chairs have to have 4 legs and a back, otherwise it's not a chair. So whatever I'm going to say is Jewish identity, there cannot be any exceptions. So let's define Jewish identity as an ethnicity. Does it make any sense that an Ethiopian Jew and a Yemenite Jew has the same ethnicity as a German Jew or an American Jew or a Russian Jew? Are you going to tell me that Ivanka Trump, for example, who identifies as a Jew, is of the same ethnicity as the Yemenite Jews in Yemen? In what sense do they have the same ethnicity? Certainly they're not of the same race. We have Jews of all sorts of races. We have black Jews, we have white Jews, we have Jews of all races. So a Jew can't be a race. It's not an ethnicity. And if somebody wants to define Jews as a religion, which is the most logical and straightforward definition, then you're going to have the question that many people raise. Dennis Prager recently, who I'm not a fan of, recently wrote an article in the New York Times last week claiming that the Jews are not just a religion, because if they were, then you would not have atheist Jews. And you have Jews who are atheists. So if they're not a religion, and they're not an ethnicity, and it's not a race, and it's not a tribe either, it's not a family. You can convert to Judaism, and you can't convert to a blood family. You can't convert to an ethnicity. And if you can convert to a family, like an adopted child, you see, adopted children are not the same as children. Adopted children means that by law you have to treat this child as if he was a biological child. That's not a convert to Judaism. A convert to Judaism is not a person who the law says you have to treat as if they're Jewish. They're actually Jewish. And secondly, even if you're going to assume that there is some kind of body of law that says you have to treat them as they're Jewish, what body of law is there? The religion? Remember, they're atheist Jews. So if you don't believe in any religion, how in the world can you convert to Judaism? Who's the one that determines what the conversion process is? What does it take? And you can convert to Judaism, but we all know you can't convert out of Judaism. Like, who decided that? How about another question? Someone's mother is Jewish and his father is not. Is the child Jewish? Well, there's laws about that. So if it's a race or an ethnicity, then there's no such question. It depends on the race or the ethnicity of the child. But there are laws. Traditionally, Judaism has recognized maternal lineage. And now there are certain strains of ideologies that identify as Judaism that recognize also paternal lineage. But who makes these rules? Jews have no infrastructure. There's no Pope of the Jews. And if there was a Pope of the Jews, that would be a religious position. And if you're an atheist, you don't believe in it anyway. So what is it? Well, I'll explain to you what it is, and I'll explain to you how all these identities came into being and how things got so confused. Jewishness there's only one consistent definition. It's religious doctrine. It means as follows. There are no identifiable characteristics that all Jews share. That means there's no such thing as a definition of a Jew in terms of characteristics. It's not an ethnicity, it's not a race, it's not a religion. But who is a Jew is religious doctrine. It means as follows. Every religion has doctrines. So Judaism has, for example, you have to eat food that's kosher. What's considered kosher food? Well, whatever the religion says is kosher food, that's kosher food, right? A scientist can't say, well, I'm an atheist, but I'm going to have my own definition of kosher food, because the whole concept of kosher was something invented by the religion. That's religious doctrine. At what year a boy gets bar mitzvahed? The whole concept of bar mitzvah means somebody who's now obligated to fulfill the mitzvahs. Bar is Aramaic for son, and mitzvah means the commandment. So it means whoever now is obligated in the commandments. It's religious doctrine. A Jew is somebody who's obligated to fulfill the obligations of Jews. There's 613 obligations with thousands of subcategories. There are 7 obligations that the Torah has for non-Jews, 613 for Jews. And who is obligated in the 613? That the Torah decides. And whoever the Torah decided is obligated in 613 commandments. That's the definition of a Jew. That's it. It's religious doctrine. If you don't believe in the Torah, you really don't believe in Jewishness. If you don't believe in the Torah, then you don't believe that God sent manna down in the desert. You don't believe that Moses split the Red Sea. You don't believe Adam spoke to a snake. And you're not going to believe that God, on Mount Sinai, decided that these people, whoever the Torah identified, are obligated in the mitzvahs. There are no identifiable characteristics of Jews. The only common denominator is the religion claims that you are obligated to do the mitzvahs. Jewish identity is religious doctrine. Just like you have a kosher piece of meat, you can have a Jewish human being. Simple as that. And if you want to know what the definition of kosher is, you got to look in the religion, and whatever the religion says is kosher is kosher. And if you want to know what a Jew is, you got to look in the religion, and whoever the religion says is Jewish is Jewish. And therefore, you can have an atheist Jew, and the reason why he's Jewish, whether he knows it or not, is because the religion says that guy, whether he believes it or not, whether he agrees or not, the religion says he's obligated to fulfill the 613 mitzvahs. You see, this is the only consistent definition of Jewishness, and this is the definition of Jewishness that Jews have had throughout the generations. You can convert to Judaism according to Jewish religious doctrine. The reason why maternal lineage creates a Jew is because that's religious doctrine. The answer to all of these questions is that's what the religion says. And the religion has authority over Jewish identities because Jewish identity is only religious doctrine. Without that, there is no consistent definition of Jewishness.